What's up, guys? I've got a build video for you today. I'm going to be building a $50,000 AI system live from scratch. And if agencies were doing this for you, they would charge you tens of thousands of dollars a month. Or if you were doing it yourself, you'd be wasting hundreds of dollars a month in Clay credits and OpenAI credits as well. So this tool is essentially going to replace most of the AI infrastructure that you would usually be using for cold email, except the lead scraping, of course, at the very beginning. So if you come up here to the top left-hand corner, you will see our leads that we've already gotten from Apify. So if you haven't done that, go and do that first and then come back to this video. If you haven't installed Claude Code in your IDE, you want to come over to the left-hand side where the extensions panel is and just search for Claude Code, and it'll be the top extension by Anthropic. Should have like 19 million downloads or something. Then from there, we are going to open up Claude Code. You should see the little icon pop down here. Then you just want to click New Session. Now, I've already prepared a prompt for this video, and we want to go and fire off our Claude Code into plan mode. And essentially what this is going to do is it's going to write a very in-depth file called buildplan.md. And essentially that just allows Claude, when it's going through, to spawn off sub-agents and all the other features it needs, because it has all of the information in depth from the very beginning. So I did use Claude to actually pre-plan this video, and I created this prompt. So whilst Claude is going ahead and planning it inside of Claude Code, we're going to go through this entire plan together just so we can get a good understanding of what I've actually included inside of this prompt. So I have told it this does need to be a real practical tool that is usable for my work, for my company workflows, which is a B2B AI lead generation agency. And essentially, I've told it that we're building a command line tool that turns raw lead list into a ready to send personalized smart lead campaign. And I'm telling it it's doing the job of a sales research SDR function, where it will research each prospect, score them against my ICP, and write a personalized opening line grounded in something real. And in terms of the data contract, we're going to import a CSV, which we already have in the root of this repository, from Boomerang or an Apify scrape. I chose Apify in this case, but it doesn't really matter where your leads come from. This is the only lead source, and I told it do not build any Apollo integration, and I just told it which columns it should be expecting based on the columns inside of that CSV. So I told it to expect first name, last name, company, domain, role, and email. Then I told it for each of the tools, for each lead, the tool should, now this is going into this specific function in depth. So I've told it to research and to fetch the company name and website, and the home page should be about plus an about or services page, just so it can gather some more context. And then it's going to pull real signals, so like what they do, who they serve, anything specific worth referencing. And if the site can't be fetched, it's going to fall back to the raw data and mark it in lower confidence as a result of that. So it could just be because the website isn't live or it's blocked somehow. Now, we'll just go. Okay, so this is good as well. Now, if you haven't installed Firecrawl, which is a free tool, I'd recommend you go and install that as well. Essentially, that's just going to allow us to fetch all of the data in the best way possible. Now, Firecrawl is a tool that actually has its own inbuilt anti-bot detection, so that allows it to go and scrape all of the data on its own servers without the usual Chromium getting blocked. So we're going to use Firecrawl, but obviously if you don't have that, you can just use the native fetch as well. And I'm just going to click recommended. We'll tell it we won't need an Anthropic key, if I can spell today, because you'll be doing all the cleaning and stuff for us. Now, obviously, if you do want to spend money on API credits, whether it's Claude or OpenAI, feel free. Obviously, it won't be as much. The big heavy kicker was using Clay and spending 150 bucks US a month, which is crazy. So where were we? We were up to number 2. So the second thing that we're doing is we're going to score each individual lead via the ICP, and it's going to create an ICP.md file. .md just basically stands for markdown, so essentially just gives a key set of instructions, what it should and should not do. So that just helps Claude reference it in a very quick manner. And then it's going to return it based on a tiered based system. So number 1 means that it's a strong fit. Number 2 means that it's a partial fit. And number 3 means it's a weak fit. And if it's DQ, it's disqualified. And then it'll give a one-line reason as to why it rated each one the way that it did. And then the third thing it's going to do is it's going to write a single line of personalization with referencing a specific real detail from the research that it gathered up in step number 1. It's going to ignore all the generic flattery, no invented facts, and it's going to have no, it says if there's no genuine hook, say no, so that it'll drop the tier rather than fabricate. And essentially this is just training it to get rid of all the AI slop, particularly this line where it'll be like, oh, I hope you are well, all the other crap that AI usually does. Nobody cares about that. and it's a dead giveaway that it's actually AI generated. And so we've also specified that the output that we want it to do or to generate is a smartlead underscore ready.csv file with with the columns with email, first name, company, tier, personalization, research summary, and DQ leads that go into a separate disqualified.csv file so that the send list actually stays clean, and we've removed all of that as well. And if you were doing this in Clay, you would just go up to the top where it says filters and you would just remove all the ones that actually were disqualified. So then we've actually gone into the stack and the quality that we want it to use. So we've told it to use TypeScript and Node and run as a CLI. And we've told it to use the official Anthropic SDK, which is why it did actually ask me for the API key. But obviously we gave it another option, which was just to do it inside of Claude Code. So we don't actually need to spend money on API credits. And we've told it to build a clean infrastructure based on the research, scoring, and copy, each on their own module, so that each one can be swapped. And we told it the production ready style would be fully typed, real error handling, and retype with back off on rate limits as well. Now, I've given it rules, and this is also really important, that you actually tell it what it can and cannot do, because this is essentially going to be what's in its own encompassing MD file. It's kind of dabbled in both of those here. But essentially, we've just told it that the lead source is Boomerang or Apify only, so it's not going to go outside of that. Okay, so now it's finished the build phase, and now it's going to start building. So if you don't want to have to keep clicking a yes auto accept every time, you can actually just turn on bypass permission, so it's not actually going to ask you. Now, if you're unsure about this, I wouldn't just turn on bypass permissions just to be safe, but I'm comfortable enough inside of this project where I can just turn it on. Now, if you actually don't see it there, you do actually have to enable it in the settings. So you just want to come up to the top where your settings are and go to Open Anti-Gravity IDE User Settings. Actually, it's not there. It's the other one. There's two settings now. And you just want to type up bypass permissions. And so just like that, you will see Claude Code allow dangerously skip permissions. You just want to toggle that on. So that just allows Claude Code to go through without having to constantly ask you for permission to accept and add files. Where were we? We were up to here. Oh yeah, so after we've told it in the rules list that we're only going to allow leads from Boomerang and Apify, then we told it what the output must be, and it must be a straight CSV that we can just upload directly into SmartLead. Then we've told it the personalization is grounded in real fetch signals only, really important, so it can't make anything up and fabricate information. Then we told it to never reference, calculate, or log open rates anywhere. Why? Because we don't go for open rates, just because that decreases our deliverability and it absolutely tanks it. If you want to know why, go back to one of the other cold emails where I've actually gone into this topic in depth. But essentially, all we care about is reply rates and positive reply rates and meetings booked. We don't care about open rates. Then we told it to position this as a sales admin slash SDR research automation, not a customer service one. And then obviously we went down another layer in terms of the specification. And in terms of the ICP file, we just told it that it should include the offer, the ICP firmographic, and the role criteria, the scoring rubric, and we gave it all of the individual criterion that we want in order for this project to be successful. Then we told it to create a claude.md file so that future sessions in this repo carry that context so we don't have to keep repeating ourselves over and over again. Now, I told it to use placeholders as well when you don't know any of my specific information, and then we'll just input that when it has any questions. And then obviously the final result, which should be the build.md file, buildplan.md file, it should contain the architecture, the file tree, the ordered build steps. I think it just showed us a sneak peek before. It may show us that after it's finished building. But essentially, we just told it to put everything inside of that build file that we just said up the top here so that Claude has access to that in detail. And we told it we need it to fill and any trade-offs or risks. So we told it to basically keep asking questions if it gets stuck so it doesn't do the whole hallucination thing. And then after I approve it, it's going to build it and run it on the same sample-leads.csv that we gave it, or show me any, and it's only going to show the final result as that. So basically that's all I'm looking for in the right, on the left-hand side. Now, I'm not going to make you sit here while it goes through and builds everything. It's actually already developed a plan, but what I'll do is I'll come back and play the video once it's finished building everything, and we'll go through it and analyze it together. So Claude Code has successfully gone and built out the remainder of this workflow. As we can see, we have a folder now called out, and it has the two folders or the two file types that we asked it to produce, which was smartlead_ready.csv and disqualified. So it only did a couple of leads just to demonstrate the process to you guys, but obviously it would make sense for you to go and do it for your entire lead list. So in the smartlead_ready file, it produced the email, the first name, the company, the tier, the personalization, and the research summary together. And obviously it also trimmed, I think, ironically, based on how I've trained my Claude in previous workflows, it also trimmed the end parts like LLC and clean the company names as well. Now, if this doesn't happen for you automatically, make sure you tell your Claude Code to trim every single company name down to its minimal or its base form. So get rid of any sort of prefixes and suffixes like LLC, PTY, Ltd, all of those generic company names that if you actually plug it into a variable, it doesn't actually sound like AI put it there. So I think, yeah. Now, I suppose with when you get to these ones, it's a little tricky. Like realistically, you could just say Reality Kings if you were trying to go to its base form, but having properties in there is fine. Just the key ones are obviously the LLC, the PTY Ltd endings that are the dead giveaway. Now, in terms of the personalization, just to read you one of them, it says you're pulling inquiries from 40 plus Houston neighborhoods into the site. The real question is how many sit a day or two before a realtor actually picks up the phone. Now, that was based on their company information, which we actually scraped. And I think if we go and look at the logs, we can see the Firecrawl functionality. Here we go. So it actually went and crawled all of that information and actually looked at images as well and got all of the information based on it, like actually scanned the site. Now, the cool part about that Firecrawl is it actually has its own anti-bot detection. So it actually bypassed all of that. Then obviously as well, a good part to add to this workflow is the email validator tool. So what you can do is whatever email validator you decide to use, it doesn't actually matter, whether it's million verifier or zero bounce, you can just come up to your env.example file and you can just add your key here. So whether it's zero bounce, million verifier, you just want to type the full name in caps and press equals, and then just paste the entire key there, and then tell your Claude Code to then incorporate that into the workflow. So after it's gone ahead and cleaned and done the whole like personalization part, then it will go and do all of the email verification as well. So that when you actually get your smartlead_ready file, then you know it's fully good to go and you can just drag and drop that into your smartlead file as well. Now also while it was running and doing all the other stuff and while the video was paused, I actually added a ICP section. So previously it just had all of these variables here. And so to make sure it had accurate data, what I did was I actually went through and listed all the ICP that I was wanting to do for this particular example. And so I told it what offer I was going to pitch it, what kind of real estate companies I was looking to target in particular. So for example, real estate companies with 5 to 50 staff members doing a monthly revenue above $50,000 just so they could afford what I was actually pitching them, and all the different deal structures as well that I was going to pitch them. Now, obviously, it also updated that inside of the ICP.md file, which basically just formalized everything I told it to do inside of that particular chat window, just so it was um, all consolidated. Now, this is actually, we didn't go through this. Let's go through this very quickly. So we didn't actually go through the build_plan.md file before just because it was still building out. But essentially, it took everything I did in the very first prompt. If we scroll all the way back up to the very top, it actually helped to consolidate and even expand a little bit upon what we put here in this file. So it actually gave all the same context that we gave it. And it also elaborated on some of the decisions that we wanted it to do based on the prompts I answered on the first half of the video. So I told it to go and use Firecrawl to actually go and grab all of the research about the websites. And I also told it to just use the built-in Claude Code stuff so we didn't have to pay for API credits as well. Then it also told it to, in terms of loading the CSV, to use all of these files to help, or just what to use basically. So we wanted to use the ICP to actually inform the copy that it was writing. And obviously we wanted it to get the research from Firecrawl as well. Now, obviously, in terms of the tree file, that's just the file structure of the project. We don't need to worry about that. And also, it's really important with MD files that it actually is very clear about what result we want. So in terms of like the output schemas, it actually told it what specifically the output should look like. So it told it that the exact and ready ordered file should be in the smartlead_ready file, and all of the disqualified ones were in these in this file. Plus, it was also marked and tagged with DQ, so it was a dead giveaway as well. We don't care about this. We don't need to go through this. I think that's pretty much everything for today's video. Oh yes, and also we fixed this as well because we went through and updated the ICP.md file. It also removed all of these variables and actually subbed it in with all of the information that we gave it. Now you can use Claude to actually give you an in-depth prompt and turn your normal human language into a nice in-depth prompt so that Claude Code actually knows what it's dealing with and can therefore write proper copy as a reflection of the ICP that you've chosen. So that's all I have for you in today's video. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. If you'd like me to help you build these automations out personally, the link to work with me is in the description below, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.